He really wants Malik Willis, blah, blah, blah. Well, everyone kind of just like looked past the obvious. They had gotten to watch Kenny Pickett for 5.5 years or whatever. Like they had the front row seat to this guy coming up as a freshman, winning against like number 2 Miami at Pitt, then kind of being in the wilderness himself for a couple years at Pitt and not figuring it out, then putting it all together and having this great senior season where he's balling out and beating Clemson and doing things like that. And people just overthought it when the truth was the Steelers liked him. My understanding is by far more than anybody else in the class. It wasn't particularly close. He was their guy, but instead of telegraphing that, they were just like, yeah, I mean, we've seen him. We know everything we need to know about him. Why would we go overboard, like looking interested in him? Let's go do our diligence on these other guys. And then so to get to a roundabout way to answer the rest of the question, I don't think people here are split into two camps because it's weird. Like when you have a quarterback from the hometown school, there's the echoes of Dan Marino. They passed on Dan Marino at 83. Like no one's ever let the Rooney family forget about it, et cetera. And Marino, we know one of the 10 and 7 most physically gifted quarterbacks ever, maybe even top 5, like for the, just pure. Pickett is not that guy. He's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. He's got good size. He doesn't have great size. He's got a good arm. He doesn't have a great arm, et cetera. So you get people saying, oh, they reached. Well, they didn't want to have Marino slip through their hands again. And in so doing that, they drafted a guy way before they should have. Okay. Then there's the other camp that's fully invested in he's going to be really good. Is
that the Louder camp?
I'll get to that in a second. I'll answer that one in a second. That camp exists. And they'll say, oh, they'll surround him with good players. He'll be like 80% of Joe Burrow, and 80% of Joe Burrow in the right situation can be really, really good. Because that's who he gets comped to all the time. And that's who the NFL.com scouting report comped him to. Then you've got this other weird dynamic of Penn State fans, because Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh is, highest percentage of Penn State grads in the country of any one county. Well, they hate a Pitt guy. They're not going to cheer for him. So you'll get all this slagging of him on Twitter, like he sucks. He's terrible.
Why do they care? They don't play him anymore. They're running from it. They don't play anymore.
That's a real rivalry, though. Isn't that what a rivalry is?
But is it a rivalry when you don't play?
Well, they played 4 times and Penn State got 3 of them, and they should play every year. But yes, I see your point. No, they still like to slag them. So to answer the last part of the question, I do think that right now there is the arrow is cautiously pointed up. So I think a lot of people love George Pickens. I think Deontay Johnson having 0 touchdowns, people see that as an anomaly. I think they like what they've done so far to sort of help him out in year 2, going into year 2. And then what he did at the end of the year last year is sort of this is why you can be optimistic. That Raiders game, days after Franco Harris passed away unexpectedly, he goes right. And this is the thing about football. And this is, this, I mean, you can make a big impression with, one drive in an otherwise lackluster game. He wasn't good against the Raiders. Then they get the ball back and they have a chance to win the game, and he walks them right down the field and kind of makes it look easy. And the Raiders kind of helped him with that, but he still made the plays to win the game, and he made the throws. So that's one thing. Then going on the road in Baltimore and making even more high-level throws. Oh, okay, there's him hitting Steven Sims over the middle for the window's the size of my laptop screen, and he puts the ball through it. Or he's on the run and he's getting chased and he flips one over to Harris for the winning touchdown. Then people go, okay, on one hand, the stats still weren't very good. On the other hand, that's some stuff you can't teach. That's some big boy plays. If Patrick Mahomes makes that throw to Harris, it's leading Sports Center that night because it's Patrick Mahomes. It's another Mahomes moment. So I think the needle, the arrow, whatever you want to call it, is pointed up for people, but it's not like this dude is definitely going to be a superstar. It's more of a, hey, I'm more optimistic about the guy than I was.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.